Good evening, race fans. Welcome to Podium Esports coverage of this sport class race in round one of the PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge from Watkins, Glen International in Watkins, Glen, New York. The first event of the 2021 season for PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris, Rachel Whiteford, and tonight's producer, Ryan Bauer. This, our second race of the evening, the Sport Clash, which is brought to you this season by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. TP, you climb a little bit up in the I-rating ladder and the scoring ladder. You find these sport class drivers. They sit as the class just above the challenge class, the intro class here in PCA Sim Racing. So you'll see the level of competition go up, the lap times go down, the racing be a little bit closer in this class than we saw in the challenge class race that just completed.
Certainly so, and also some of returning favorites that we've all seen and known for the past couple of years of the PCA. Drivers such as Ronald Cahill, Rusty Pruden, Sebastiano Ballestieri, Antonio De Silva, Bob Moore, Gregory Sampson, and George Markadakis, all very known, well-respected PCA members here for the PCA Sim Racing Series. So very excited to see how these drivers have improved since the last time we saw them and seeing what they can do here at Watkins Glen.
We'll keep our eyes on this field as they get set to complete their qualifying runs and get ready to tackle Watkins Glen for their first crack at Podium Broadcast and Racing in 2021. Of course, for those who are unaware, you can go visit PCASimRacing.com and find out more information about this entire series because, yes, the broadcast races are the big thing that people know about, but there's a whole community of drivers of PCA Sim Racing that have events multiple times throughout every single week. They're always racing something, on iRacing with PCA Sim Racing. So go hop onto their website, PCASimRacing.com. If you want to learn more about this group, about this series, and about this little part of the Porsche Club of America. Qualifying is completed. Time to bring you your starting grid for this Sport Clash race, brought to you by Pirelli, and it is Dave Crave, a 996 machine that is the one who starts on pole, fast time of 1 minute and 40.936 seconds. Daniel Rubel will roll off from second. Third will be William Waldron. Paul Solk starts in fourth. Fifth on the grid goes to Ryan Korzeniowski. George Markadakis, a veteran of PCA Sim Racing, starts in sixth. Ogungo Ralph rolls off from seventh. Eighth goes to Carl Bocchiari. Thomas Jody and Sebastiano Ballestieri complete the top 10 for the Sport Class grid. Taylor.
Nick Paglia will be starting in the 11th position, followed by Dean Chapman in 12th. Antonio De Silva will be starting from the 13th spots, followed by Gregory Sampson in 14th. Aaron Ambrosino will be starting from 15th, followed by Thomas LeMay in 16th. Moatza Mardini will be starting in 17th, followed by James Legault in 18th. Keith Morgan will start in 19th. Ronald Cahill rounds out your top 20, Rachel.
21st today, Rusty Pruden starting up there, of course, with Adam Gerling in 22nd, Bob Moore in 23rd place, Curtis Krimmel in 24th, Chris Duggan 25th place with 26th, Stephen Vecina, Scott Lilly in 27th place, Thomas Crane in 28th, Ken Tubman 29th with Peter Yerxa in 30th, and James Bernard last in 31st.
Gives us a moment to look back at the track facts one more time. This is, of course, the boot layout of Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York. A 3.40 mile, 5.43 kilometer circuit that opened in 1956. 11 turns here at the Glen, and tonight we'll go for 30 minutes of competition plus one lap as per the usual time settings with road racing on iRacing. The in-sim time is Thursday, April 1st, 2021. Again, about 9:30 a.m. local time. Air temp, same as it was in the last race, and should be consistent throughout the evening for all of our four races. So 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Fahrenheit track temp. Winds headed to the north 2 miles an hour. Humidity 28%. Are there any differences in particular, Taylor Burris, that you expect from this sport class race presented by Pirelli compared to the challenge class race that we just saw completed?
Well, we might see a couple of different things. We may see some of the drivers who are towards the back half of the field work their way up through the field. Maybe he didn't have the best qualifying, but drivers such as Markadakis and Sampson and Paul Silk, very competitive drivers, might have not had the best qualifying. They could be one of those drivers who can work their way up through towards the race lead. And then, of course, we could also see some more issues with lap traffic like we did see there, but it could take a little bit longer compared to what we saw the last time in the challenge class.
And Rachel Whiteford, first crack at the sport class, the green class, as it were, in PCA sim racing. Just your general levels of excitement, I think, to be here for PCA sim racing and to get your first taste of action in a series that has come a long way in 2 seasons.
Well, you told me last race, only maybe 10 minutes ago, that this would only get better with every race. So after a great race last time out, I'm super excited to see what the sport class can bring us here today. Of course, these guys, you just told me, fantastic races. We've got some fans in the chat, of course, who are really excited for what they're going to see here. And, well, if that was good last time, this is only going to be better. So, yeah, color me excited. This series is definitely an eye-opener.
So many stories that we'll get the chance to sell, so many different zones that we need to talk about. And a very quick refresher here, we're at Zone 1 tonight, at least virtually. We've got drivers from all 14 zones competing in tonight's 4 races, but Zone 1 covers New York State and North, the Eastern Canada provinces, and Ontario. Zone 2 covers Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and Virginia. Zone 3, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia for the most part. Zone 12, Florida in there. Zone 4, Western West Virginia. Eastern West Virginia is also part of Zone 2. We should probably catch that one. But Western West Virginia, Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, Northeastern Indiana, and Michigan, part of Zone 4. Zone 5, Eastern Texas, Southern Texas, Oklahoma outside the Panhandle, Arkansas, Louisiana. Zone 6, the great Northwest, most of Idaho, along with British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. 7, Northern California and Northern Nevada. 8, SoCal, Arizona, and Southern Nevada, including Las Vegas. 9, the Rocky Mountains in Eastern Texas and New Mexico. 10, the heart of the country. 11, Alaska. 12, Florida. 13, Strip with Wisconsin and company in the middle as we go racing here in the sport class. In 14, Montana, Big Sky Country, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. So lots of fun to be had as we go green flag racing as Dave Craig leads us through the S's for the first time, and Rubel and Waldron continue to roll on and give chase. Taylor Burris.
Certainly so. A little bit of a track block right there as they come out of the 90, but was able to get things going here. I believe Carl Borcheri was one of those drivers who might have gotten like a little bit of contact, went wide and spun it around, but still able to continue on after a couple of cars, though, get heavy damage. But we'll still keep an eye on the battle, though, for the race lead, as that's currently held by Dave Craig. Daniel Rubel still holding on right behind him, about 7/10 of a second back, trying to see if he can make up ground as they work their way down the back straightaway.
It just takes a little bit of time to see where the battles are properly going to sort out. Dave Craig's got about a second lead on Daniel Rubel, but you slide just a little bit further back, Rachel, and how about this? Let's start at P4 and roll back to Ryan Korzeniowski, George Markadakis, or Gugaral, Thomas Doherty. That looks like the first pack that's close enough to where we'll see some side-by-side racing in the not-too-distant future.
Wow, Ryan Korzeniowski, you certainly picked some good names for me to start on with this series, of course. Things are getting pretty hectic coming out of the boot here. So this is one of our busiest packs, really, ahead of where that separation occurred from the blockage earlier. But further back from this, of course, we've got a lot more spread out already, even after one lap. But this group's super, super tight here on the racetrack, as some side-by-side racing just up ahead there with Markadakis and Korzeniowski, as I get the two best names there to try and pronounce for a broadcaster, side by side across the line here, down into 1, and we're going to see the pass there by Markadakis. I do apologize there, that Greek name does spin me around a little bit, but heading up the hill here, up towards the S's, and just ahead of them there, Salk and Waldron, also neck and neck here as they come through this, and we're definitely seeing an increased tempo so far, James, in this one compared to the last round.
At least you got that George's last name does have a Greek etymology to it. That's, I think, gold star there right off the bat. But yes, I guess we'll have to call him Greek Lightning if he charges through the field, because he just got around Korzeniowski with the very Polish name there and moved himself up into the 5th position. Korzeniowski back to 6th, and then a good battle here. How about Garal, Ambrosino, Paglia, and Sampson all within a second and change of one another, and I think plenty of battles, TV, that we're going to see in the next few corners here.
Certainly so, as we watch on board right now with Nick Paglia from the Nordstern region, Zone 10, looking to see if he can get into the championship by being one of the highest finishers in his zone. He then will make that pass right there, moving him up through inside, a little further inside the top 10 in that 9th position after completing the pass over Gregory Sampson. So a great job for him as they come through the final couple of corners.
So he completes the pass on Simpson, Paglia clearing away, and Brasino, the last man in this group, and then breathing space until you get a little bit further back to Gerling, to Cahill, to James Legault, and Sebastiano Balestrieri, then even Peter Yerxer, Scott Lilly having good battles too. That's 13th through 18th, but how about Markadakis? I think we need to go back to him, Rachel, because all of a sudden he's been able to clear Korzeniowski by half a second, and blink, he's already up to Paul Solk trying to fight for 4th.
Yeah, he's definitely Grease Lightning right now, as we have to get the etymology of that phrase correct, of course, rather than Greek Lightning. That's a yogurt, I'm pretty sure. But either way, Markadakis actually, yeah, really putting the hammer down here, going after Solk at the moment as they head out to the bus stop now, down towards the carousel here. And he's holding a much tighter line here. Defensive by Solk. They're going to the outside in the carousel, hoping to use it to basically hold it inside for the entry to the boot. The arch really there doesn't hold it as Markadakis goes flying through there. And go Grease Lightning, you're burning at that quarter mile. But it's not a quarter mile, it's actually 5.42 kilometers. So unfortunately that etymology can't stick.
Not only did you go for the phrase, then you flipped from miles to kilometers because metric system.
Racing shows that, unfortunately.
Right? No, I get it. I get it. In fairness, you know, we Americans are weird. Very few places still on the imperial system, but yet here we are. And Markadakis just used that nice arc coming into the boot, which, in fairness, Taylor, if you want to carry speed down in that part of the racetrack, there's a lot of corners around the boot where you have to swing it wide on entry and almost arc it out, which is why I was a little surprised to see Solk go down to the bottom and defend that as hard as he did, because that's not necessarily a surefire guarantee that you'll be able to block the person behind you and maintain the track position.
No, certainly you cannot. That's a surprising move that he was able to pull off. I mean, we could have easily saw a crossover move for that position, but it was able to hold on nicely as we continue to keep on watching some of the great battles going on as they climb up to the S's. Keeping an eye on this battle for second place between Rubel and Waldron. Waldron still trying to see if he can gain a little bit of ground as you're on board with Rubel through the bus stop chicane. He clips him just a little bit. That will allow Waldron to work his way a little bit closer as they come out of the carousel. And Dave Craig, well, he's grinning from ear to ear. He's pulled about a 2.4 second gap over the rest of the field.
Most intriguing piece of this, at least amongst this battle in the front two, Rachel, that I see, I think Rubel might have the slightest bit of damage on the nose of his Porsche 911 RSR. It's not huge by any stretch of the imagination, but I look right around where the tow hook is, and it looks like ever so slightly that nose is crumpled in just a bit.
It certainly does.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it certainly does look a little crimpled up a little bit, so he might have some damage from that opening lap where everyone got a little checked up, so keep an eye and see if that'll affect his car. Keeping
all of our eyes peeled as Rubel continues to roll around in P2, and he's got Waldron beat by about half a second, and looks like he's stretching that gap to P3 through this next set of corners. Meanwhile, Paul Solk continuing to fall through the field. Korzeniowski has managed to catch him, and we may have a battle for P5 on our hands before too long, Rachel.
Yeah, I really think we will right now. Of course, Solk is pushing it at the moment, but right behind him, Korzeniowski is really putting that pressure on, same as we saw with Markadakis, pushing it here as they head up towards the S's through turn 2 now. and a great chance to get a good slingshot out here, especially with the gap he has. He's really close. He should have some draft effect coming out here from the final corner of the S. You can see that car just dragging a little bit closer as he comes. Although, judging at this, he won't make it by the time he gets to the bus stop. He wasn't close enough to sling through there, but he could be for going into the boot. So that's definitely a place we want to keep an eye on. Koronowski here, along with Sol. Sol's car going backwards. Maybe he just pushed a little too hard too soon. Maybe just nailed that qualifying lap he can't really nail the pace for, but right now, Koronowski is just waiting for an opportunity, and this is something we said in the last race. It's about not passing as soon as you can try and get alongside. It's about waiting for that time to know you're going to make it work. Otherwise, you lose time to the guys in front. There's no point sitting side by side with a guy fighting him for 10 laps when the rest of the field's cleared off.
Koronowski has the pace to try and get around Sol, but one man who is dropping back, Orgungo Ralph, gave the spots to both Thomas Doherty and Nick Paglia on entry into the inner loop, that bus stop section and chicane up at the very top of the hill at the end of the back straightaway that last time by. So Doherty to 7th, Paglia to 8th, and Ralph now back to 9th, potentially 10th, if Gregory Sampson can say something about it. But Aaron Ambrosino and Thomas Lamai also in the mix and within a second of this battle too, Taylor.
Certainly so, as we keep an eye on those battles. You're on board with Aaron Ambrosino from the Hudson Champlain region, of course, from Zone 1. He's guaranteed his spot in the championship for his zone. But one of the returning favorites this season, as we keep an eye on him, as actually a little bit of trouble for William Waldron. He messed up a little bit, went wide off turn number 1, loses his positions to third as George Markadakis will get by, and it looks like Markadakis once more. He's going to go for second spot as they go down the back straightaway, side by side with Daniel Rubel before they get to the bus stop chicane. Will we see Markadakis get the spot? He will overcome and take that position. Gets a little bit bubbly, though, through the curbing right there in the bus stop. That will now bring Waldron back into the mix as they go side by side through the carousel. Waldron will then take over of Rubel to move back into third.
Really great work from, I guess we now officially have to do it, Greek Lightning George Markadakis and William Waldron to get around Rubel, send him back. I wonder if the nose damage might have played a factor there. Again, not big, but just enough, especially on a track that can be as aero-sensitive as Watkins Glen is, that it could push you back, get you in trouble down the long back straightaway, create enough drag to where you can have drivers pass you if they're close enough on exit from the S's. That, I think, might be exactly what happened to Rubel. Also part of the reason why Markadakis and Waldron are now up to second and third, albeit this all happening about 5 seconds back of your leader, Dave Craig. But still good battle, nonetheless.
Sorry, James had a big wobble by Rubel just there coming out of 8th. The off-camber left, of course, out of the boot. He lost a ton of time there to well, now second and third. But what I really want to look at here is just how much a gap Craig has pulled here. 4.5 seconds in a lap. He was 2.5 last time by. Rubel's lost 4 seconds. Something's wrong with that car. And what initially I thought might be maybe, it wasn't quite a Rubel. Maybe it was about 50, 60 kopecks of damage on that thing. It's looking like a fistful of Rubels right now. If we're going to go for a Clint Eastwood reference as well, we're going for some of the old films. Why not just throw some Good, the Bad, the Ugly there, or a fistful of Rubels? I like that one. It's a good example, but he's definitely got some problems, I think. There's more than just aero damage, because that car's looking unstable for him. So maybe he's clipped a curb too hard, maybe he's damaged one of the splitter at the front, but that car's not gripping like it should.
Welcome to the PCA Sim Racing World Tour, where we have references to Greece, to Poland, and now to Russia with the Rubels. I guess we're playing up that scene, so we'll see how many countries we can visit throughout PCA Sim Racing. We know we're going to get a few more in Series 6. We're going to go international with a few courses. We're going to Brands Hatch. That'll be fun, so we'll be a little bit closer to Rachel Whiteford territory, but we'll find out the rest as we go. And yes, no, having been there personally myself, also a fantastic circuit. Highly recommend if you get the chance to go. Running aboard with Adam Gerling in the 15th position. He's just a little bit back of James Legault, just ahead of Peter Young. So Legault, another one of those cars that looks like it's got a slight bit of damage, I believe, to the left side of his Porsche 911 RSR. Just Legault had the damage. So Gerling will have the opportunity to try and run this group down and potentially gain some spots. Meanwhile, Nick Paglia, you see just further up the field, he's trying to chase down Thomas Doherty, and he's part of this group that sort of carries everybody right around Pete said. It's Doherty, Paglia, Garalp, and Sanson. And Doherty immediately to the inside to cover on the entry into turn 1.
Smart move right there by Doherty, but he goes a little bit wide. That's going to allow Paglia to go to his inside. They're going to go side by side up through the S's. Paglia, though, hugging that inside line, will overcome and take the 7th spot. Gerloff watches on. Can Doherty be able to overcome down the back straightaway here with the slipstream? See if he can make a pass to the inside before they get to the bus stop chicane. We'll keep an eye. He ducks to the inside. He doesn't have enough horsepower, I think, yet, as he's going to try to send it in there. Side-by-side contact between the two cars as they go out towards the barriers, as able to try to get going, but I think it's safe to say they might need to get a tow.
Stuck out there in the corner. Doherty has not moved yet. Paglia is back rolling. Race control will almost certainly issue a penalty, I think, I believe it was Doherty that managed to go to the inside there and get everybody in trouble, but that's just him over-committing to a corner and trying to get on the brakes, which very rarely ever works out, Rachel Whiteford. You go in that deep into that corner in particular, more often than not, you're getting into somebody before you get on the brakes at the right time.
There are 3 ways, or 3 things you need to make a pass. There's speed, there's grip, and then there's hope. And sometimes that hope is replaced with a wish. And if you don't have all 3, you're not going to make that pass. And yeah, unfortunately sometimes you can think you've got the speed, you can think you've got the grip, but all you can do is hope, and sometimes it's not enough.
A full send moment there as we go back to Gerling, who's in the mix here. It's a good little group, and not to say that it's the only good battle, but you're right on board with him, and you see that seems to go just ahead of Gerling. He's trying to figure out his way around Paglia, who looks like he's going to come down pit road for service and try and get his Porsche 911 RSR fixed up so you can move everybody up a few spots. Paglia now goes back to the 15th position, and will probably drop a few more places. Scott Lilly, Stephen Vicina, Sebastiano Balistrieri, all going to try and jump in suit and gain some positions as well. Looking at your best battles throughout the field, you can start behind this man, Dave Craig out of the Keystone region of Pennsylvania, who has just lit it up to the tune of about 4.5 seconds ahead of George Markadakis, William Waldron, and Daniel Rubel. Your best battle in the top 5. Those two separated by 0.4 of a second. And then you have to go back a little bit to find a good group. And it really does start with Legault and Gerling and Yerxa, like we have seen over the past few laps. And as you all have seen on your screens, we keep our eyes trained there. So we'll go on board with Yerxa as he goes through the entrance to the boot. Another one of those weird off-camber elevation change corners, tail reverse. But you at least get to lead into it here as you go around the toe. You got the hill to help you ever so slightly.
You certainly do, and it's best to try to hug that inside line to help kind of keep you going, and then track out a little bit in order to set up for the next part, which is going to be the heel of the boot, which is actually a little bit more tighter, as you have to brake a little bit sooner in order to make it stick through. You can't really go 2x2 in there, but we will see a lot of attempts of passing going through that corner when we see a little bit more side-by-side action right here, as we see our race leaders now coming up through the 90. Actually, seeing right now, one of the drivers, as we're watching on board, that is Daniel Rubel, I believe, who's trying to close the gap between him and William Waldron for that podium finish.
As we work our way through the second race of the evening, time to bring you our iRacing Midway, or rather the Midway race break for the Sport class. This is brought to you tonight by Pirelli. Returns as PCA Sim Racing partner, the title partner for the Sport class here in this Zone Group Challenge. Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872 and today stands as a global powerhouse known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end performance excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian people. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of performance tires and is an OEM supplier to Porsche AG. Find out more about Pirelli at www.pirelli.com. Pirelli, power is nothing without control. Dave Craig is your race leader in the 996 and has been the leader from the drop of the green flag. He's out of the Keystone Region, zone number 2, and will be racing in the Zone Group Challenge Championship in April. He's got that green check mark there, so you'll see him there in April. Second, George Markadakis with one of the drives of the day. Started in 6th, up to 2nd for the Metro New York region in Zone 1. He's got a P2 spot in his hands and has been running faster than Dave Craig for the past few laps. I need to watch that in the next few minutes or so. William Waldron runs in P3. Home game for him. He's part of the Hudson Champlain region, another Zone 1 driver in this field. And just behind him, in the shot there, you see him as well, Daniel Rubel, the 23 car. A little bit further back out of the Reason Total region. Waldron, incidentally, the fastest car of those not already locked into the championship round. So he's going to have a really great points line if he can keep this sort of pace. Paul Solt has the 5th spot. Jersey Shore region. I have no idea where that would be. Couldn't tell you in the slightest ever. But still having a good run, the New Jersey native in P5. Ryan Korzeniowski, one of the new drivers in this class, in this series. A Rocky Mountain region driver. We've seen a few of those in our time at PCA Sim Racing. Got a Zone 9. He runs in 6th. 7th belongs to the 26 PCA Sim Racing veteran out of the Rally Sport region. It's Argungo Ralph. Also qualifying for the Zone Group Championship. 8th is Gregory Sampson out of the Maverick region, another one of our Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex members of the PCA, and one who has not qualified into the Zone Group Challenge Championship just yet. So good night for him if he can keep this up. 9th belongs to AA Aaron Ambrosino, another Hudson Champlain region driver, and another one qualified for the Zone Group Challenge Championship. He's there. 10th, the 701 of Thomas Lemay, the Northeast region driver out of the Boston area, and also not qualified into the Zone Group Challenge Championship just yet, so he could use a good finish, Taylor.
Certainly so, but let's go a little further back to the 11th position from the Northeast region, zone number 1, Ronald Cahill. Pretty much been quietly running inside the top 15 since the drop of the green flag, as he's just trying to be all by himself. He's had a 7-second lead back to the 248 of Adam Gerling from the Metropolitan New York region, a home track for him from Zone 1, looking to see if he can get his way to being one of those top Zone 1 lit racers in the sports class. He's, though, in a tight battle, though, with the 30 of James Legault from the Central Indiana region, Zone 4, car number 30, trying to hold on and see if he can catch up to move inside the top 12. Peter Yurtsa is in the 54. He's from the Down East region, is guaranteed a spot in the championship later on this season, as he holds on to the 14th spot from Zone 1. 15th position is Scott Lilly from the Connecticut Valley region, also from Zone 1, looking to see if he can get his way in there in car number 45. Working his way up through the S's. He's also pretty much by himself and in no man's land, as we go about 7.5 seconds back to a very damaged Sebastiano Ballestieri from the Metropolitan New York region. It's safe to say probably, unless he gets a little bit of lady luck on his side, he is not going to be able to get a good finish for his zone. Bob Moore from the Northeast region in car 772. He's in a heated battle with the 700 of Keith Morgan. Both of those two drivers battling for the 17th and 18th position, as we see Keith Morgan from the Central Indiana region. Of course, Morgan's trying to just take it easy. He's guaranteed a spot for his zone championship in Zone 4. And then in 19th, Nick Paglia. We saw him go into some little bit of trouble. He just left pit road. He's from the Nordstern region. Car number 2, trying to see if he can get his way back inside the top 10. Rounding out your top 20 is car number 31, Kent Tubman from the Lone Star region, the Texan up here in New York. Zone 5, guaranteed a spot for his championship run, Rachel.
Thank you very much. Of course, in 21st tonight, Thomas Crane from the Mardi Gras region, so New Orleans, as we have a car go off just ahead of them. Car 846. He is not currently locked in, hoping to get that from Zone 5. 22nd is Rusty Pruden, the 96 machine from Central Indiana, Zone number 4. Also not locked in. He's currently running back in 22nd, as I mentioned, and he's hoping to get a better result today. 23rd, of course, is Moaz Mardini, the 21 machine there, running back in 23rd, Orange Coast region, Zone number 8 there. He is locked in, of course, for the championship, so that's going to make his race a little easier today here in the sports class. And in 24th place, of course, Curtis Krimmel in that 41 machine, not locked in from Zone 3, the Carolinas region. Is not perhaps having his best day, but he did, of course, qualify in 24, so he's holding. 25th, Carl Buccieri, the 80 machine, Metropolitan New York region, zone number 1, which is exactly where we're racing today, zone 1, virtually, of course. He started in 8th, so back in 25th has not been the best day for him, not locked in. You'll need to change that in the next couple of coming races. 26 is Chris Duggan, the 469 car, also from Zone 1 in the Upper Canada region, of course, and not locked in himself. He, of course, has gained, well, lost 1 spot so far today, so running about where he started. Stephen Vecina in 7th right now, sorry, started in 26th place. He did not perhaps have the race he would have wanted in this one so far, a couple of laps down, not ideal for him there. And of course, rest of our cars, sorry, we are actually off the track here. So, unfortunately, Doherty in 29th, Dean Chapman 29th, Antonio De Silva in 30th, and James Bernard 31st are currently retired from the race. James?
That completes your Pirelli Midway race report for the sport class at PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty. Craig still got his lead. Don't have to worry about that one. He's completely checked out from Markadakis. Even though Markadakis has been trading lap times with Craig, it's evened out over the past 2 or 3. So it's not necessarily Markadakis' race to try and run down Craig the way it looked a few laps ago. Outside of that, good battle between William Waldron and Paul Sloat for P4. Good battle between Gregory Sampson and Aaron Ambrosino. And then Peter Yaksha, Adam Gerling, and James Legault, along with Balestrieri, Paglia, Morgan, Tubman, and company. And we'll slide a little bit further back. How about we take a look at Balestrieri trying to, I think, get out of the way and make sure that Paglia doesn't have a huge issue. There was nearly contact there between the two, but Paglia manages to get the job done. He clears him, so now we can return to this battle that you see on your screen between Waldron and Solt, where Waldron has the position and then goes sideways in turn 11, the final corner, and gives up the spot easily to Paul Solt. And if there isn't a better example of the commentator's curse you're going to see all night, Taylor Burris, I leave that as evidence to the jury.
Well, I think we're going to go 2 out of 3 here tonight, James, as we take a look at that replay. We'll see the incident. I think he just sends it a little bit too deep into the final corner and just loops it around. Waldron, though, was having such a great run, though, as he's now going to drop back to the 6th position. Just a little bit too wide, breaks in there, and then just nice drift right there. Might have to see about him getting him in the EDA with a Porsche.
Let's put some drift association. Jeez. We'll take it, shall we?
Of course.
So, all eyes across the board, going crazy, going nuts, and having a little bit of fun, as there's good battles here throughout this group, and Waldron now gonna have to try and chase after Korzidiowski, who's just ahead of you on screen there. And then once you clear that, you gotta go back to the Yerksa Gerlin Legault group, which has spread itself out as well. What had been about a second covering this group now is up to about 2.5, 2.7 from Yerksa to Legault. So finally, I think starting to find some space, but also closing in on the end of the race too. About 4.5 minutes left to go, Rachel, in the second race before this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a crazy one today. We've had some really amazing action, and it's been a relatively clean race overall. Of course, the drivers have really shown a lot of talent in this one. The track has been the real factor here, and a little bit of hope perhaps found lacking in some cases, but overall it's been a great race here in the sports class, of course. It's great to have Pirelli on board for this particular class. Makes a great formula here for these guys, and well, these tires have been put to good use.
You can tell there was one lap car that ran into trouble there just off the screen, but as it stands, still good battling here. We're right on board with William Waldron, see if he can go run down Korziowski, but now about a second from the rear bumper of the 27 to the front bumper of the 5, and that has been closer in other times throughout this race. So keep our eyes locked, loaded, peeled. Also, just behind these two about to go around, Gregory Sampson. Technically, that's actually the closest battle of all on the racetrack at this time. Only 2/10 now of a second between Garalt and Sampson. This for P7 and P8 on the racetrack, Taylor.
Certainly so. As we watch on board from Oregon Gerlap right there, we'll see this battle. Gregory Sampson looks on to try to see if he can close the gap as they enter into the boot. As we watch on board with Sampson, get us a good run out of there as they enter the boot, heading up towards the toe, and then tries to hug that inside line. Gerlap has a good line off corner exit as they approach off the toe, heading towards the heel. Yeah, the gap is about half a second right there between the two drivers as they head towards the toe of the boot, or the heel of the boot, I should say. And still going to go single file for the most part, but a great battle between these two drivers.
Really good stuff, which, to be fair, par for the course in PCA sim racing, where even if the leader's got a pretty comfortable position like Dave Craig has, you can still go through these fields and you will find a good battle, whether or not it's for 20th, whether or not it's for 30th, whether or not it's for 15th, whether or not it's for 5th, doesn't matter. You just have to keep your eyes peeled and look throughout the grid, which is why we are settling here on the rear wing of Adam Gurley, who has got James Legault in pretty close quarters as they exit the boot.
Yeah, they certainly are. The boot has been one of our biggest points of contention in this race so far today. Whether it's entering or exiting, it's been really our trouble spots, and it being the more challenging part of this track, James, that's absolutely something we should really expect here. But this has been an incredibly close race, especially with these fights we've had going on. Of course, Salk's fight has widened out here. Rupel's managed to stabilize here in third place, which is great for his race results, of course, as well. But Markadakis has been our big mover here. 6th to 2nd in this one so far, as well as Sampson, 14th to 8th. Some big movement for some of these guys.
Big movement, and in a race where so many of the top 10 are already locked into the Zone Group Challenge Championship. How about William Waldron? Even though he's had a few bobbles, he's had a few mistakes, but if this holds, he comes away from this race as the top man on the board amongst the folks that need to qualify. So Waldron, I think we feel very good about his position after this first race of 4, because it's only a 4-race series. You don't have time to make up if you have issues befall your program. So you've got to sort of be on it from the get-go. And if you're Waldron, this is the kind of way you want it to start, where you might be bookended by people who are already qualified, but you've got nobody else fighting for one of those 3 spots throughout this mini season anywhere near you on the racetrack.
Certainly so, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that, see if he's going to be able to make up any ground on this as we see our white, or actually closing in on the white flag, as Dave Craig has just absolutely been a dominant performance all here tonight's race, coming through the S. He's got a little bit of lap traffic in front of him right now, but still, just Dave Craig is going to be one to watch this season, James, I think, because he has just been dominant since the green flag. Even though he had a little bit of help with that turn 1 incident, it's still showing that he's going to be one of the top drivers in this class.
I figure that probably stands to reason as Craig is looking to bring home a victory for the Keystone region in a race that's had, and a night that has plenty of New Yorkers competing. Still no New Yorkers coming away with the victory if this holds for Dave Craig. Markadakis is about 6.5 seconds back, and they've been pretty stable on lap times the last 10 laps or so. So in that sense, not a huge surprise to see Craig in the position that he's in, and everybody else just trying to chase him down.
Yeah, absolutely, of course, and it's been a game of trying to chase him down because nobody else can get near that. It's been a really, really clean race, but he's just got the time to really play against here.
Not too much to be said, not too much to be done. How about it, though, for Dave Craig in the 996 machine, doing all the work out of the Keystone region of Pennsylvania in zone number 2. And he will be the first winner in this sport class presented by Pirelli for 2021. Dave Craig wins round 1 of the PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge in the sport class. Presented by Pirelli. Markadakis comes across the line to finish in second, and Daniel Rubel in the 23 car completes the podium for this class. Rachel.
Yeah, he certainly does. It's been an incredible run from those guys, and Markadakis pushed so hard to get his way up there. Absolutely huge for those guys as the rest come across the line. Salt coming in for 4th, and Koronowski in the 5th spot. These guys have really pushed this thing, and we've seen some big changes and big movers and some great fighting.
Fantastic work across the board, waiting for some more of these lead lap cars to finish off their race. Adam Gerling, less cars off the lead lap than we had in our initial race with the challenge class too, which is always a good sign. Rusty Pruden is the last one who will complete this race. He is just now coming through the toe of the boot. As Yerxa is done, Gerling is done, Legault is done, Scott Lilly coming out of turn 11 this time by, and he's got Nick Handley not too far behind in tow, Taylor.
Certainly so, as we watch on and see if Rusty Pruden can make up a little bit of ground and see if he can work his way through, as he's going to be the last car on the lead lap. Can't really make up any time on Thomas Crane, but still a commendable performance to see the last car on the lead lap, able to not go a lap down and pretty much avoid all the chaos that ensued early on here at Watkins Glen, and still have a clean race car on that number 96 Porsche, which is always good to see.
Always indeed. Good to try and see these drivers keep the cars clean. Here comes Rusty Pruden across the line in the 96 machine, the last man on the lead lap. And now that he has completed the race, we can turn to the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished in tonight's sport class race presented by Pirelli. Dave Craig leads a fleet of drivers who have already qualified for the Zone Group Challenge Championship, but he wins tonight in the sport class. George Markadakis was second. Daniel Rubel finished in the third spot. Fourth went to Paul Sulk. Ryan Korzeniowski finished off the top five. William Waldron getting the big points for the drivers trying to race their way in. He was the top finisher amongst that group in sixth. Ogungo Raup in seventh. Eighth and second amongst the drivers not qualified yet went to Gregory Sampson, Aaron Ambrosino in ninth, and then to complete the not qualified podium, at least yet in the sport class, how about Thomas Lamai finishing in 10th?
11th will go to Ronald Cahill, followed by Peter Yerxa in 12th position. Adam Gerling will come home 13th. James Legault in 14th. Scott Lilly in 15th. Nick Paglio tried to work his way through, gets a 16th place finish, followed by Bob Moore in 17th. Sebastiano Ballestieri will come home 18th, followed by Keith Morgan in 19th. Thomas Crane rounds out your top 20, Rachel.
21st today is Rusty Pruden with Curtis Krimmel in 22nd. Ken Tubman in 23rd. Carl Bocciari in 24th, 25th being Mortaz Mardini, with Chris Duggan 26th, Thomas Doherty 27th, Stephen Versina 28th, Dean Chapman 29th, Antonio da Silva 30th, and James Bernard in 31st and last.
Complete your full field rundown for this sport class presented by Pirelli. It is time now to bring in the race winner, though. Dave Craig out of the Keystone region now joins us. And Dave, how important is this particular mini series with regards to practice when you get to the big show in April and have to really race for it? You're already qualified in based off your performances in the fall and the winter, but to just get that extra seat time in this sort of competitive nature and environment, I think has to be beneficial for you all, no?
Yeah, these races are so stressful. Everybody here is so good. You make one mistake and you're out of it. So just practice, I think is what it's all about for me.
How much practice did you get the chance to put in this week in advance of Watkins Glen, and how much do you like this racetrack? I imagine it's at least a light given tonight's.
Yeah, I've run here a few times in real life. It's close to where I live, so I don't know if that's an advantage or not, but it's a really fun track. And some of the regions put on some practice races earlier this week, and I had a chance to run those. And I really wanted to thank Josh Vieira from our region, Zone 2 and 4. He does an awesome job with putting together just coaching and setup help and walking people through the laps to really get some speed. And then I also wanted to thank Dave Palmer, my team racing partner, who got me into this. So without those guys, I wouldn't be doing this.
You could do a lot worse than pull on Vieira, who won here in Series 5 in the pro class. He knows a bit of tricks about this place, I would think, and clearly you put them to good use. Sonoma next week, Dave. It's race number 2 of the season. Thoughts on Sonoma? Impressions of Sonoma? Any idea what we can expect there?
Totally different. So back to the drawing board and thinking about setups and practice, because the things that worked here I don't think will work there. So I go in with no expectations and just I'll try to learn and do well.
Well, Dave, congratulations on your victory this evening. Thanks as always for the time. We look forward to seeing you in Northern California 1 week from tonight.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Dave Craig, your race winner in this sport class, presented by Pirelli for race number 2 of the season. We now turn to Great Lightning, who finished in P2. It's George Markadakis, who's with Taylor Burris.
Here with George Markadakis. George, you are absolutely flying out there, and you got to say, how was the conditions out there for you on those opening laps?
It was great. It was great, Taylor. We had a great time. Great bunch of guys up front. Nice, clean racing through turn 1. And it was great, all good from there. You know, the track felt good. Everything was great. Having a blast.
What's one of the things that you most enjoy coming out here to compete with the PCA Sim Racing Series?
Well, it's great because you get to know a bunch of guys, same guys, and you're racing track to track with a group of great guys that you respect, and it's just a great time. You know, great time.
Well, we do appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, George, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
I want to thank all the guys up front, everybody that's helped, and all the guys from Zone 1, and my Pegasus guys that we practiced together and improved over the past year.
Well, that is George Markadakis, your PCA Sport P2 finisher here tonight at Watkins Glen. And Rachel, I gotta say, you got someone else in the round up the podium here tonight.
Yeah, we certainly do, of course. We're going to have a chance to chat here to Daniel Rubel. Dan, busy race today, of course. Looks like you picked up some damage early on that car. But a tough race. You fought back, held third. How was it for you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Yeah, I don't know that I sustained any damage. If I did, it was news to me. But felt like it was a pretty clean race for the most part. Really tough competition up front. Dave and George, extremely fast drivers. Really just tough to keep pace with those guys. But glad I was able to hold my own, and really proud to be part of this great group.
Yeah, certainly absolutely was for you. Well, congratulations, of course, on a podium finish here today. That certainly helps for the series. Hopes for next time out at Sonoma?
Yeah, really looking forward to Sonoma. It's a tough track, a lot of elevation changes. I haven't had a lot of luck there heretofore, so I've got my work cut out for me.
Awesome. Well, best of luck to you for that one. We'll see you next then.
Thank you much. Take care. Cheers.
Back to you, James.
Dan Rubel completes the podium. That completes this portion of the broadcast of the evening. So for those of you on YouTube, again, time to hit the blue button, go back to the main page. You'll want to jump over to our club class page next. That'll be our third race of the evening, as we'll bring you action courtesy of our friends at Michelin from Watkins Glen. For everybody else, stay where you are. You'll see more action momentarily as we continue tonight's broadcast of the season opening round of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge from Watkins Glen, courtesy of Hagerty Esports. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.